Hi there, welcome to our channel. I'm Vic.
I'm Nick.
And we're MV Board Gaming. And today we're looking at Terracotta Army. This is a game published by Board and Dice. It's for 2 to 4 players. And Nick is going to show you how you play, and then we're going to give our review.
Hey everyone, welcome to the table. We are here for a setup of Terracotta Army. So I'm not going to go through everything, how to play and all that. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go through turns. I'm going to act like I'm doing turns, and then you can see how those things develop. What all these symbols going to do, and what does an action look like? How does a turn look? First off, I'll explain some things that we start out with. We start with these chips, but they're all deactivated. And that might come into play because that might be something I want to look at changing. So we have these. We have these smaller type of workers here that we could upgrade into these grande ones. I always call them grandes because they're larger, and that's from viticulture reference. So we have both those types, but we only start with the smaller version. I don't know all the names of the things. Again, I'm not going into theme. I'm not doing any of that. All I'm doing is showing you how a turn looks and what all that means. So in this game, we are going to trigger off actions that are in these rows here. And we can manipulate that potentially by spending 2 coins and doing that. There are things that we won't be able to do. Maybe we don't have the resources to do them, perhaps. And in that case, you can sub out those actions for either one of these clay or one of these coins. So if you were to take an action that would say, get something like coins, so like right here, it might be a little far away from the camera, hopefully not, but we have an action that says get 4 coins, then you're going to get 2 coins. So those are pretty basic. So you're getting 6 coins. You have to do these in order. So if you can't do the top, that's when that comes into play. So if I pick this one, I would put a worker out, one of the small ones, like I said, right there. The larger ones go here. The artisans, I believe they're called. I don't know. So you get 6 coins, and then you're going to have this action here. This action is to put a statue, one of these statues out over here. And then you need a prerequisite. So here you can see I'm stuck. Remember, I don't have any of these symbols. They're all disabled. So if I did this action to start out, I would not be able to do this. Now remember, I said you can, instead of doing these actions, you can get coins or clay. You cannot do that with the outer layer. You cannot do it. So that's just simply foregone. I take 6 coins and my action is done. So let's move over here. And then for this action, I'm going to say hypothetically, because I don't want to say I can't do the action. If I didn't have the clay, I couldn't do the action. I have to do that because it's the inner layer. If I went here, if I have the clay for it, I'm going to spend 3 clay to build out one of these. And this is really handy. I want to show this on camera without tipping everything over. Here you can see the types of characters that are in this and what they do. It's really nicely laid out. So if I put this character out and I flip that token, I'm going to get a bonus of 2 coins, and I'll get a victory point. If I don't, however, have that symbol, which I don't, I can still put it out, and I'll get 8 victory points. So I have to go from this up. So you can see none of these are active. I would spend the resources needed, in this case 3 clay, to acquire one of these of my choice. So if I took this, I'm going to get 8 victory points, and I'll put this character on the board where I wish. I'm going to clip on my ownership here to show that this is the green players, and then I'm going to put them where I wish, face them where I wish. It doesn't have to be adjacent to anything. So what I'm going to consider is I'm going to look at these round goals even. So you can see in round 2, I'm interested in having them in this section over here. The white cross, that does not count as one of those sections, but it will in round 3, where it says the white across from left to right is going to count. So I'm going to look at round 2 and say, all right, well, maybe I want to be here, or maybe I want to be here, because these actually matter too, where these are actually going to count in the end of the round. They're going to give you points for having majority. 7 points if you have the most, and 3 points if you at least have presence. So I might say, all right, well, I guess that's as good as it's going to get right now. I'll go there. If I had the symbol, I would get the bonus. If not, I'm just going to get the 8 points. So that would be the first action here. Here, I'm going to get those 2 clay back. So I'm also going to note, if when I spend that 3 clay, so let's say I had it, it has to be wet side up. These are double-sided. This is dry side. It's all cracked and gray. So I have to be wet side up so I can use it, spend it, and whichever section I went in, one of those goes here, dry side up. So always remember that one of those clay that you spend is going to go to one of these depots. I'm going to get 2 back. Okay, I take the 2 back from the supply. And then I'm going to have that same action here, these choices. So let's go over what these actually do. If I had the symbol and the money, in this case, no one has done it, so it's only 1 money. However, if later in the game that there's some missing, I'm going to spend money for each one of these. That way I want to do. So let's go over what these do. The horse, essentially, they help you just get majority in areas. They help you spread out more, so you can see that's going to score in 3 rows. However, it's only 1 person, and you have to have that person there. So right there, that's not a legal action. I actually have to have a person, so I can twist it around and do that, if that's where they were. I can do that as an action. That's perfectly fine. Now I have presence. It's just a 1 presence. So like this row, I only have 1 person here. It doesn't matter that there's 3 spots. However, if I were to move down here, I have presence in 3 different rows. Even though it's only 1, I still spread out on 3 rows. So it does help spread your troops out. That's what they do. I'm not going to go over all these. There's ones that they give you scoring for adjacency. There's ones that help with tiebreakers and so on. There's ones that help with rows and columns. They count extra victory points per round. And there's all that. But yeah, these just help out. They add the strategy of where you want the placements. All right. Over here, you're going to turn all your wet cement. If I were to go here, all your wet clay. Or sorry, you're going to make all your clay wet. So these do dry out after rounds. There's ways to prevent it by going here, but we'll get into that right now. Because this action lets you do some of these. So whenever you see a person here, and they're all over, there's 1 on each of these, you're going to be able to first choose if you want to activate and put your marker out. You'll spend the money and put your marker out. And for the rest of the game, so let's see, that's this one. If I spent 4 coins, I can put this marker out. And then for the rest of the game, when I activate this person, I'm going to have this ability. This ability just happens to be that I enable all of these, which is great. This is probably the action I would do if I were actually playing the game right now. I enable all of these. Bang. $4 it cost me. But for the rest of the game, every time I do that, I can just do it. Because I already paid for that ability. So whenever I see that and I want that, I can go ahead and do that and flip all of them up. This also says at the end of the round, I can flip 1 clay. I can have 1 clay from not drying. Whereas these are income of $1. But they all give you different bonuses. Taking clay from the depot, doing the inside action twice, and so on. Manipulating these. What are they called? We say it in the review. I can't remember what they're called right now. Inspectors, maybe? And so forth. Buying another person based upon the round. That's how much you spend, and so on. They don't get the bonuses, but there's different things. So you're going to keep playing. You're going to have 5 rounds. You're going to resolve each of these to see who has the most, and they're going to get the victory points shown here. There's a lot more to this game, but a few more actions I'll just go over before I wrap it up. You can upgrade your workers here. So if I want to, I would be able to take that person there, upgrade them, so on for going here. It would really probably be upgraded. So if I went there, I'd upgrade them to there. There you go. And then for the rest of the game, I have this ability, which lets me go, despite one of the little merchant people going on a spot, I can go with them too. And that includes me. If I wanted to do an action twice, I could with this person. The other action I didn't say right here, these are just simply flipping 1. So it was absolutely irrelevant because I flipped all of them. So this one's pretty much a dead spot. It doesn't matter to me. All right, what else do we have? These are all the same, just varying amounts of clay you have to spend. And, that's such a brief overview, but I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to make sure I said. There's going to be a lot of contention over here on this board. This is such a key part of the game, putting these things out. It's like, it feels like it's just the bread and butter of this game is putting everything out and the different things that these folks are going to do. They can manipulate these inspectors. They can manipulate other people that can move in a straight line. So later in the game, if I play this person and I have an open straight line and I really want them to be like in the 3rd round over here, I can move them if they're undeterred. And like, oh, okay, if there's nothing in my way, I can move them in a straight line up there and then score them again right here. So yeah, different strategy, all different spots. All these empty spots gives you a victory point, and I already said the 2 coins. A lot of ways to score here. A lot of things going on. Vic and I are going to go up top and tell you what we think.
All right. Thank you so much for showing us how to play Terracotta Army. We'll jump right in. I'm not going to explain that we've changed the format. We've already talked about that. Let's go with game flow. How does this game flow, Nick?
Rocky, a little rocky. There are a lot of rules. There's a lot of things you might miss. A lot of things you have to look up on your first play. It's a fiddly one. I think so. I think this one is an overall negative. I think there's a lot of things you have to double check and a lot of things you might miss. That's not to give an overall score here. It's just that for this particular category, the game flow is you think you have it, and they're like, wait a minute, that isn't right.
That's what I was thinking. Right as you said that, my brain was saying that in my head. Like you think you have it, and then you realize, like when you think you've come to understand how each of the statues what their effects are, then you're reminded, no,
Like,
that's
okay,
not
yeah.
the case. Or you don't need the weapon to activate that to build that statue.
You just don't get the
need
bonuses and
yeah.
all
It's like
this.
little thing like okay, and then I damaged this rule book quite a lot flipping through, and then I taught it, so that could add to the fiddliness. Not that I don't want to bully myself, but I am not the strongest teacher. I did try to learn this one thinking it wasn't that difficult because I thought, okay, it's an action selection. You're going to just make a selection and do the thing, and then once you learn the symbols, no problem. But there's a little more to it. And if you're not fully aware of how this game is going to score at the end and you're not understanding, then you're going to spend the whole game. And this is not the game's fault so much as it's a factor though. This is just something that's a factor because we played it a couple times, and even when or 3 times, we played 3 times at least.
At least,
Yeah,
at
and
minimum.
each time at the end I go, oh yeah, I wish I would have known this or that or this, and it's just hard to keep track of sometimes some of the different scoring. But I think I've got it now.
I
So
hope
we
so.
play again. I feel like just at the end of the game, I was realizing how these figurines are going to score and how I could do better, but not always.
And when you're teaching a new game, that's a lot to learn and to try to explain to a new player because now they got through all the rules. All right, well, here's this complex end game scoring for this map at the top right, and here's what all of these do to contribute to those. Well, this does this. It only counts as one, but it takes up 3. This one is what he stares at doesn't count as a duplicate. It counts like as 2 points at the end of the game, and it counts for this. Breaks ties, and then this one. And then you have other soldiers to explain what they do. Like, oh, it's this far away, and give them victory points when they're that far away, and empty spaces you count. You don't have to use your token if you don't have it. You can still put them out and not get the bonus. That's 2 coins if you do it.
But you need a token for these statues.
So it sounds like we're hampering on it, but it is a little bit to teach.
Yeah, and I think that you once the good thing that it tries to do is it has that scoring phase in between. It's not the same as the final scoring, but it can try to kind of shape. If you're not knowing what's going on in the first round, maybe after you see that first scoring, you'll go, oh, like that's how I should put these statues. You might, but you don't. It doesn't do that majority scoring or the group scoring till the end. So that if you're not understanding that, then you're gonna have a rude awakening at the end. But I don't want to lament the point. Downtime in this game. What did you think? I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was too crazy. It seems like there's pretty snappy actions that you're taking.
At first, maybe. Then, as
Some
the game
actions
goes on,
yeah, because if you're just grabbing a clay or refreshing clay, that's
right.
going to be fast. But if you're building a statue,
it could be if you're not prepared on your turn. We're playing 2-player games where it can go snappy, and then there's a holdup, and there's some undoing going on, maybe. And I'm gonna say neutral. I don't think it takes too long, but it could between turns.
It could, yeah. I think with more plays, before you know it, it'll be like second nature to us because we play a lot of games. But I don't know if I would want to really go through I don't even know if I want to play this at 4. We've only played it once, but yeah, I don't know how much. I have to see. I'm curious what that downtime would.
The spoiler is that we're not going to be able to talk about scalability. We've only played this one at 2, and we played it multiple times at 2. We'll talk about that.
I'm just scared to teach it to people. I'm just kidding.
Mechanics?
Well, let's go to the gameplay.
Okay. There is a lot of depth. There's a ton of it. Mm-hmm. It's overloaded. I think this is a positive. There's a bunch more depth than I knew initially when we got the game. There's a lot of choices to make, a ton of them. And there's a lot of ways to go. There's a lot of ways to win. I like that. So what it lacks in how straightforward it is, it makes up for in all the stuff you can do to win this game.
Yeah, and I got it for Nick for Christmas, and it was a big reason why was because of the reviews I read about how many options and decisions and interesting choices you could make, and that a lot of the choices you were making were like meaningful ones. I'm like, oh, that's cool, and the fact that the game could be played in different ways and not have one set way that you're gonna win if you just do this one thing. But we'll talk about more of the replayability in a bit. Shifting to mechanics.
I think that if you like a little bit of Take That, I think there is actually a decent amount. This game
Yeah.
is kind of confrontational at 2, especially because
Yeah.
you only have one person you can take this area majority from, and have people pointing the direction, give more victory points, and move people around. Move that the red pawn around, which scores the rows and columns. I can't remember what they're
Yeah, the inspector.
called. There is that. So keep that in mind. If you want a friendly game, it's not this one. This one actually is pretty cutthroat in a way.
That was my thought.
So
Cutthroat.
it lends itself. Is it interesting? Sure. I think that its mechanics are all there. It's just a matter of your preference.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to put out the different specialist statues and go and see what the potential is, and just hope, like, oh, I really hope they don't put their guy down beside that, or move the inspector. But there's a tension for that reason, because you don't know if they're going to go and grab that spot on even the rondelle, or are they going to drop a big artisan. I think it's an artisan, or it's the big meeple. Sorry, I'm really bad with like remembering all the terms of games.
The big meeple.
But when you put the big guy down, and you do that, you stop someone from going to that spot. Like there's a lot of depth and ways to hurt.
That somebody could be you. You could stop yourself.
Yes, in the future, if you put that out, and then you're never going to put a little guy out there because of the placement rules. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of thinking and strategizing against your opponent, because you that is front of mind. The fact that you're taking turns and you're going to end up putting out and player turn order matters a lot in this game when you're not playing with 2. But we've only played with 2. But when I noticed is there's different rewards when you're playing with 4, when you're vying for that first spot. So that does have a lot of meaning, is to be able to get that statue out first. But then also on the flip side, if you do put something out first, then the person who goes after you can go and then, put something and foil your best laid plan. So I don't know, it's an interesting mechanic. I always enjoy putting out the statues and the figurines. I have a lot of fun attaching my piece and putting that there. I love a rondelle like action selection. I like that. I enjoy.
I was gonna say it's a net positive for the selection alone.
Mm-hmm. Random. How random is it?
Not very. I can't think of something I would call random. There's different cards every time, but I mean, I don't see much of a random factor.
Yeah, there's mitigation. Like you can move the wheels back, forward. Like the inner wheel can go one direction, the other one can go another direction. So you can broaden your what your choices are, because let's say if Nick took all of the actions and I like the top one, I can move that top one to another place that's available. So it kind of helps with that inner circle. You can make.
So you're saying that makes it less random?
It makes it more random. Less random, and it's more of like a. You're not limited in any way by like, oh, the wheel's out like random. This. Yeah. There's ways to mitigate that randomness where you
for 2 coins or something.
Yeah. So I think that any randomness that does come about, I mean, there's randomness in terms of what the scoring is going to be, but that lends to its replayability when they have the scoring for rounds and stuff. But
sure,
we'll talk about that, because we're going into replayability, which I think is very strong in this game. I think that you can experiment with different paths to win, different strategies. You can even try out, just get better. You can improve your own gameplay and think, oh, you know what? I won't do that again. I'm not going to, I'm going to better understand what the specialist really does and then act accordingly. Or I'm going to try to upgrade all my meeples right away. So I've got the big guys maybe, and I'm ready to muscle Nick off of certain actions. And even the masters that you make a choice of, and what order you're going to deploy those, and then what you're going to pay for them is interesting too. Like there's just a lot of thought that goes. So I think that for that reason, the replayability is very strong. What do you think?
I agree. Just the fact that there's a lot of different choices and ways to go lends to that. So if generally in games, if there's a lot of choices, you don't get to choose everything in one game. You're going to want to replay it a few times.
When it comes to scalability, Nick already alluded to this. We've only played it at 2, so we can't really speak to how it plays with more than 2, but I'd be interested to try.
Yeah, we got to try at least once.
Mm-hmm. Table size. I don't think that it's too bad, but it does have a container that's built in, which is pretty cool. They have this box. It's a cardboard box. It stores the little statues because there's quite a few of them of each color.
Upside down.
It's yeah, you put them upside down because of the way it
Mm-hmm.
holds them, and it's got the VPs printed on the top, so you know exactly what VP. It doesn't line up exactly perfectly, like it's not, but you can tell like which VP you're
Yep.
scoring. It's got the they do each warrior, what they do right on it, what weapon token you have to pay for
Mm-hmm.
them. So it's very nicely organized, and this goes into the setup, I guess. So I don't
Yep.
want to go too much into it, but that's cool. That takes up a little bit of space. The board itself does have a bit of a size to it. But it's not that massive. It's not huge, the biggest board I've ever seen.
Right. It's not overly, it's not overly big, so I'll give it a neutral.
And you don't have a player board. Each player doesn't have a. They just need a little bit of space for your clay, and that's really it. And your money. You're not going to need too much room. Your little masters are small tokens, so not much to say on on how big of a table you need. I don't think you need a big table at all.
Okay.
Theme. I thought it was cool. I started googling what is a terracotta army. What is that? So it piqued my interest. What about you?
I didn't care about the theme at all. I'm gonna give it a neutral.
What
I
is
don't
that?
know, like what am I doing? I have no idea. I'm just putting these soldiers out trying to get points. So the theme to me didn't shine through, but I'm sure for other people maybe it does. To me, I'm just trying to win the game. I didn't really care what's going on as far as this horse is cool because this represents. Nope, don't care.
Table presence. I thought it was strong. It looks cool. The game looks interesting. All I think about when I'm staring at those minis is, ooh, I want to paint you. I want to have painted things. But it's cool that the pieces are good. It looks nice on the table. I think it's a good production.
Yeah, the tail presence is cool. Just see all those little soldiers around that the area control. It looks cool. It's like you're playing a little separate game over there.
Yeah, yeah. Components, just to segue into that, they're good. The minis are pretty good quality. We did not get like some deluxe crazy edition. This one is just the straight up retail. So can't speak to some of the crazy upgrades and deluxeified components that I'm sure were available. Was this a project, a Kickstarter or something?
Not that I know of.
I don't know. I could be completely wrong.
Maybe it was, but I don't recall.
I think there is an edition though that's nicer out there. I could be completely wrong. I didn't shop around too much because I was trying to fit within a budget. I didn't want to spend too much. So I saw this one. It was a good price in Canada, so I picked it up with my American dollars. I got to spend in Canada. It was a nice feeling. Anyway, but the component quality is good. Nothing wrong with it.
No.
Strong. Price and value. Well, I just talked about that. I got it on sale, but I think it's a little bit it's a little bit pricey for what you're getting in the game relative to maybe other games, but it's hard for me to compare it because Nick does a lot of the buying.
How much do you spend, you think, US?
From probably $40 or
I think
40
that's
50.
fair. I think this is like a $50 game. I'd probably
Yeah.
say if I were to look at the game and see what you get in it, I think it's like a $50 game
Yeah.
all day.
Nick's more of an expert. I think it was $79.99 Canadian or something like that usually, and then it was on sale. So
yeah, if you see it around, if you see it lower than 50, I think you're getting a decent buy here.
US, yeah.
So I don't know what it usually goes for, but
yeah, I saw a range of prices, but I think it's fair. I think it's what you get. It's nice, and it seems to that box alone that holds the statues.
That helps with this next topic, which is setup time. You already have that box up there. All your people are already set up there.
That's so cool. Instead of having to pull out a bag and like sort out all your guys, they're already there. And I already talked about the box because I can't get over it. I love the box.
So I think for a Euro game like this, or I don't know if I want to call this Euro, there is definitely a big Euro, but then you have that area majority thing going on and that area control that really screws people up. It's not anything to do with the resource collection. It's a little hybrid, I guess, in a way. I think the setup time for this type of game is good.
Yeah, me too. Not too difficult. The game length, I didn't think it was too bad. It says it's 90 to 120. Yeah, 120. I think that's pretty accurate.
For a 2-player game? Yeah, I think that is accurate. Now, if you're going to play in a 4-player game, I don't know that's accurate.
It took forever the first time, though. I'm having flashbacks to that because I taught it, so that always makes things a little more challenging for Nick and I. Because if you learn or teach a game, you're going to have more knowledge than the other person. That just goes without saying because you're the one teaching it. So then, Nick, I'm trying to enhance his experience when I'm trying to make sure he understands how to play. And then that just takes time. So as you're going through, you really want to be, a perfectionist. If you're teaching somebody a game, you want to make sure they know, so you don't just win and, oh, you didn't know that rule? Because I'm famous for that. I go, oh, yeah, you didn't know. I don't even look at him when I say it. I'll be like, yeah, it's right there in the rules. I already said it. The game length is fine for what it is. I don't think it's too crazy. The complexity is, it's a little bit complex. It's more complex than I thought. When I was first reading it and learning it, I'm like, yeah, just put out the statues.
Yeah, I don't know
Choose a selection.
if it's complexity or just like there's a little
caveats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just like you can get the overview. That's basically why I taught it like that when you watch the teach. Is there is a lot of like one-off type things that I don't want to go into in a teach as necessarily. Like just giving people a broad view of the game. The complexity comes from that. Comes from those little one-offs. Like, oh, but you can do this without that, and all this, and then if you do this, and this is how many points you'll score. It's a lot to throw onto somebody.
Yeah, so. And then you have to be able to think ahead. You got to be able to know, like, and if you're not getting that, and you're just like, haha, I just want to put a horse out, ha ha ha. You may not be playing your best game.
Sure, and there's a lot of things you're gonna miss too. There's a lot of because a game that has this many actions, many ways to approach it, this many ways to put a person down. There's gonna be spots that you miss. There's gonna be because you don't want to sit there all day thinking of the most optimal move. We don't, people want to have fun. You're gonna be like, oh, but they can do this and change the result that I was gonna get these points, and there's different things like that.
Yeah,
fun.
So fun. I like it. I think it's good. I was hopeful that Nick likes it as much as I do because it was a gift for him. So it's always awkward. We actually decided to stop doing that. After this, I said, I don't know if I want to buy you games anymore because Nick does buy up a lot of the games he eyes, a lot of the games he likes. He's already put the order in. So for me to come and say, like, here's a game, and you can let me know in the comments what you think about this. But gifting people games is dicey because it's kind of self-serving because you're going to play the game and I liked the look of it. So it was kind of, is it really a gift for somebody? So, but I think it's fun. I enjoy the thoughts that the decisions I'm making in the game. And I have a lot of fun taking the different statues, the different warriors, and then making the choice of, am I going to activate them or do I even care about activating them? I just want more statues out there. Yeah, I like it.
I think it is really fun. The only thing I wish is it wasn't so cutthroat, I guess, because the decisions on that sideboard with your soldiers are pretty massive and they're pretty detrimental to your opponent. And there's a lot of things you can do to cut things off and take things and change the scoring for the round, change the scoring for the end. And there's a lot of different things to consider over there, and it feels cutthroat, especially at 2. If it wasn't for that, I really wouldn't have any criticisms as far as the fun factor.
Yeah, I try to think about, because it's not a large area to put out the statues, and based on our 2-player experience, I go, how could it get with 4? Like, how busy could it get in that area? And
we run out of those statues quick. Like in the start of the 3rd round, we're already done with those statues. We already had to put them all out last time.
Yeah, the specialist ones.
They're already gone. Like, okay, well, I guess that action's dead.
Yeah, and that was unfortunate. That is one thing that I should have mentioned in the mechanics or the gameplay in general, is that there's a potential that a space can go and become redundant, and it's a dead space. It has no. Once you've exhausted all the specialists, there's nothing to do there. So it doesn't. You don't get anything for that. Not doing
no coins. Yeah,
we looked into
clay at that space because it's in the outer ring.
Yeah.
And that can be true with the symbols even. If you already have it flipped over and it's a symbol, that's in the outer ring too.
Yeah, and you can't change that. Yeah. So, there is a little bit to the funness that can hamper some of the fun you're having, because especially when you realize as the game comes to a close and you see that you have not done what you need to do in that area with the statues. You have not put, I think it's a mausoleum or it's something, you have not put those guys out properly, and it's going to hurt. And even if you don't manage to get a group and you're like, oh, that was a waste of time, but at least you get the points though for the warriors when you place them. So there's a lot of thinking in this, but it's fun. It's good.
We already know how you feel as far as it being positive, so let's see your score and I'll go to mine.
8-6.
Nice.
Yeah, 8.6. I like it a lot. I like the theme. I like the look. The box looks cool. The cover looks cool. I like Board and Dice. I'm pretty. I'm a pretty much of a fangirl for
Nice.
Board and Dice. I think.
Yeah, I put out good stuff. All right, so we gave it quite a bit of negatives, quite a bit of positives there, so mixed scores. I am.
What's yours gonna be?
It's gonna be an 8-3. I'm gonna go
Ooh.
8-3 on this one. I like it a lot. It's just I love the complexity for myself. I just don't love it for teaching new players.
Yeah.
And it's gonna come to a front when we teach it with 4, which we plan on doing, where there's gonna be, make sure everyone's paying attention because there's gonna be a lot of things I have to talk about here, and that's gonna be unfortunate. Hopefully we can get through it.
And then monitoring people as they're playing, like
Yeah, that takes away from it. So
wait,
it's a shame that we're doing this only a 2-player review. I wish I'd give maybe in a further, when we do our quarterly review, I might talk a little bit more about our experience when we do play this at 4. We're not even sure who we're playing with yet, but we'll throw it on someone and hopefully they really enjoy it.
The smartest friends we know.
They didn't play that with us. Wait a minute.
Yeah, huh? Well, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this overview and review. If you did, please click the thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more great reviews. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.